Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the new 26 Vigilante 8 for this week. As always, moral first. And this gets heavy. Really heavy. And kind of personal. You see, this episode, surf and or turf. But I guess you can call it surf and turf or surf or turf, whichever one you prefer. By the way, tell me which title you prefer in the comments, and or. But this episode focuses on parents that don't live together, or divorcees even, in a very subtle, kid-friendly, and easy-to-digest way. When parents are separated, one of the harder choices they have to make is to figure out which parent the kid is going to live with. It's even a choice that I had to deal with way back when. You see, I'm a child of separated and divorced parents. And for somebody in my situation, finding the right place for me to be at was critical. The best place for me to live at, to be okay with the best situation, given my disability, all those things taken into account. But for most divorced kids, for the average, they have two places that they can go to. The place of their mom or the place of their dad. And it's a tough and difficult decision, seeing that most kids that have both parents want to see their families together, want to spend time in both places, especially if those places have importance like heritage or what say you. It's hard to choose. And in the case of family, choosing to do both at an even time would be the best case scenario. That's the moral they give in this episode. The whole choosing where you want to vote, what you want to do, or where you belong isn't fair, especially if both places matter to you. And this is true in a family construct. You shouldn't have to give up one for the other. There's pros to cons to each, and the CMC, whittled off from Twilight, go on a vacation. For Twilight, it's to fill out a field trip form. Hopefully we see that field trip later this season. And for her to do some research on Mount Eris. Yes, we're returning to Mount Eris from the movie. So again, if you have not seen My Little Pony the movie, much like the opener School Days, you're gonna be kinda confused for the first few minutes. The CMC are there because the map called them there to help out what it seems to be a young hippogriff by the name of Terramar. He loves both of the worlds, the hippogriff home of Mount Eris and the home of the seapony, Sequestria. Both were introduced in the movie. And he often goes bouncing back and forth. One to see his overly energetic and very likable father, father, and also to see his very arty, crustlessy, and very loving mother, both of which are confused, but most hypocrites have chosen by this point which part of both of the worlds they want to live in. Unfortunately, Tiramar hasn't, which leads to the CMC having to help out. And at first we use the CMC to get reintroduced to both places, the pros and the cons. This is the excellence of the episode, using compare and contrast, a popular form of trying to figure out a difficult choice and trying to come to a middle ground and an agreement. To this end, we are allowed to see both worlds through the CMC's eyes, as well as meet both parents. It's a very cleverly done, very well written aspect of this episode, and is most definitely a strength. Sweetie Belle loves the home of the Hippogriffs proper, thanks to a place called Harmony Heights. They're full of musical and audible cues, which is perfect for Sweetie Belle's character and her love of music. It's a nice and beautiful callback. Meanwhile, we are reintroduced to Sequestria and the seapony forms, especially for Twilight, from the movie, in which Scootaloo digs the chill atmosphere and lots of things to do in the rhythm and vibes. But unfortunately, even through their pro and con technique, they fail to come to a consensus. And then ultimately, by song, Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo come to blows. This is the first time we've seen any real division in the CMC post their cutie marks. And it's kind of staggering. But of course, Apple Bloom, having to be the voice of reason and the leader, and this is proof, manages to bring them back together. And it's through both sides and both worlds' love of Twilight, because they're showing Twilight the sights and just spoiling her rotten on both sides with her research. We also find out that she has a high competitive side for somebody so smart. Wonder if they would love to dig into that. I'd like some of that meat, please. But in the end, the moral comes out when the parents understand the pressure of the decision, and they apologize for putting too much pressure on him. Good. But the reason why the moral of you don't have to choose where you belong is a good moral in terms of parenting. However, let me take you back 2 seasons. Twilight. You said a line that stuck with me 2 seasons ago. A line that even I've used on some occasion. And a line that totally contradicts this episode. Remember when you told Rainbow Dash choosing not to choose is not a choice? Well, this moral contradicts that very line of logic. What this episode is essentially saying is it's okay for a pterogram not to choose where to live at. And that it's okay for him to bounce between decisions. Now, understand when Twilight said this line in Rainbow Falls, it was under a completely different context. So yes, the line here does not do as much damage to the episode as it does in Rainbow Falls. But if we're going to be critical of the line there, we have to be critical of the line here. Not to the same level, mind you, but equally as important we must. Unfortunately, this one little hindsight may tick off other reviewers in the community, so don't be surprised if they mention what I bring up here and dock the episode a few points. But for me, however, I'm not going to do it. This episode is a 6 out of 6. Wow! Not only are we getting consistency, we're getting high consistency. That already is 3 sixes this season. And leave it to the CMC, who I officially dubbed the 6 Masters, to once again do it again. With some great callbacks to their character growth, a great song, by the way, but having the worlds of Mount Eris and Sequestria re-explored, if even for a little bit, and adding some new characters to love in each is completely awesome. Twilight's competitive side shows a little bit, and a strong moral, especially for divorced families or families in which parents have been separated. And also reaffirming the point of Venn diagrams and pros versus cons. And hopefully setting up a future episode too. So much like the moral says, surf and or turf, you don't have to choose. In fact, enjoy them both and enjoy this episode. But I'd like to hear from you. Which of the two worlds, once you see this episode, of course, would you want to live in? The high heights of Mount Eris, or down where it's wetter, down in Sequestria? Leave your thoughts on the episode and your choice down at the comment section below. And make sure to follow the end card cues to last week's reviews of Granny's Gone Wild or the new 26 Vigilante 8 playlist if you need to catch up on the entire season. And click on our logo in the middle so that you can keep up for next week and subscribe. I would most appreciate it. Until next time, I'm Nirvana Sparkle. Find peace in your own Nirvana. And, by the way, I choose the sky, even though I'm an Aquarian.